Happy Monday. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner, and I come in on weekly live and do these updates as an sort of inspiration. I like to call it a live case study and blueprint, because so often if you want to get in, well, really nursing school just doesn't give us everything we need. And so we always talk about how mentorship is important, and this platform and social media allows me to be a mentor to multiple people. Some of you I'll never meet, but I just hope that the time spent here and the information shared helps you in some way so that you can do whatever it is you desire quicker, faster, cheaper, more efficiently than I did. Today, we're going to talk about, I like to do a few things every week. We'll talk about health and wellness. We'll talk about the DNP Dermatology and PPA group, updates on the blog, my first article for the Journal of Dermatology Nurse Association. We'll talk about the Dermatology Nurses Association, because last week I mentioned that I ordered the scopes and standards, and so it's here. I want to go over it. I have 2 DNP project ideas for you, and yeah, I think that's it. If you're new here, welcome. Like I said, I'm Kimberly, and I go live once a week because it's the easiest way to avoid social media burnout. There's no editing involved. And as soon as I'm done, it's over and I move on. It's my number one recommendation if you're looking to get into social media, is to keep it short and simple and easiest as possible so that you can maintain your consistency, because that's part of the algorithm, is that you show up every day and that you're consistent. So if you show up every day or every week or once a month, you just need to be consistent with that, not only for the algorithm, but for your audience. So health and wellness. So I mentioned last week that I cut my workouts to be shorter. So I usually will run for 20 minutes, or I'll go outside. I have like a step thing, and I might do that for 30 minutes in the heat, which I absolutely love. And I have to shout out my sunscreen. The one I have on right here is CeraVe. It's a SPF 30. It's a mineral. Is it a mineral? I'll have to bring it out next week. But typically, like on my body, I don't mind if it has a white cast as long as it has good protection. But typically when I sweat, it will really be a white cast. But I have to say, this one it holds up really well. And on my face, I have coats. Since talking to you last, I found out about, I don't want to pronounce it wrong either. I even listened to the people who work for the company so I could pronounce it right, and I still don't remember. It's Tizo. I want to say it's Tizo. They have like a little sampler you can try. I just heard it gets really good recommendations, especially from dermatologists who are it's highly recommended amongst dermatologists of color. And so it's a little on the pricier side, because I use coats right now, and actually we might have another skincare video. I think that's what I purchased. Anyway, it's about $27. And actually, shout out to Dr. Laura Scott. I think she had talked about it when she did like a collab video during the pandemic with the founder of Naturium. Susan. I can't think of Susan's last name. I can see it, but I can't think of the last name. Anyway, she did a bunch of videos during the pandemic. She makes a lot of videos, which I love, and that's why I really support her products. And what I loved is that she had so many people on with different skin tones and showing what the sunscreen looked on them. So that's how I learned about coats. And so I used to buy it from Ulta, but they're just hit or miss. So then I was getting it from Amazon, but ever since they changed the finish, because it used to be lightly tinted, and I think they didn't have richly tinted before, but now it's just, I want to say lightly tinted and richly tinted. And ever since that change happened, I haven't had success getting it on Amazon. They kept sending me the wrong one. So actually, you know what? I just answered my own question. This isn't it either. So now I order it from the company. Those are just Amazon boxes. But I saw an email saying that it's coming today. So it might actually be in the mailbox. So yeah, that's sunscreen. So for health and wellness, so yeah, I like this one. It's great on the body. I have some Isden that I wear too. That one, it does leave a white cast, and when I sweat, it cakes up even more. Um, and I want to say that's SPF 50. Um, so it's not necessarily a recommendation if that's what you're trying to avoid. But for like outdoor activities, I'm not that particular. So yeah, and then after I finish that kind of cardio, then I come and do some weightlifting. And I've been really consistent with that. I worked out every day but one. And then I finally got to yoga because I just really need to get some stretching in. So I'm focusing on consistency, mobility, and form. And then I'll slowly start to add some other goals. So that's been really successful. And diet was really good. Juice some more watermelon. I want to make some more green juice. I think that's all the health. I did get some better sleep, not consistently, but I did get a couple 6-hour nights in. So I feel the difference too. So we're just going to keep working on that. My schedule changes this week as of today. It started today. And so I'm super excited to see how that feels. It's supposed to be lighter for at least the next month. And so we'll just see how that goes. The DNP Dermatology group, this week I rolled out a poll so that people can start RSVPing, saving the date, and picking our next restaurant. Our next event will be September 26th. It's a Thursday at 7 p.m. And it'll be sponsored by Sun Pharma. And hopefully we can get the restaurant we tried to get last time, the 26th, since it was bought out the last time. So that's the group. The link is in the description box. You can answer all the questions. And then after you verify your medical license, you can get access to the group, which is a networking group for NPs and PAs in medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology. You can be practicing or aspiring in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. And it's just here to provide a source of support and inspiration outside of clinic, because clinic is all about the patient. And as I recently found out, so look, derm can be hard to get into, right? And even when people get in derm, they still will report a year later that they're still challenged by the learning curve. And I even found out someone who has quite a bit of experience working with dermatologists doesn't necessarily mean you get the support that you envision. And so even though they've worked with dermatologists before, they still feel like they've had to kind of figure things out on their own and come home and look in their books and stuff like that, which we all have to do. But it was just sad to hear, because you just assume if you're part of a practice that you're going to have that support. But practice is really busy. Clinic's really busy. I know some providers see upwards of 40 to 50 patients a day. And so it's not that you're managing your patient, you're managing their family, you're managing your MAs. And so it's a lot of work to do. So when you're looking for preceptors and you're looking for people to shadow and you're looking for people to orient you, unless there's like a structured program, it just might not be as robust as you're expecting. And so like one of the things that I love about my job is how we have so much team support, and we have access to our colleagues basically all the time. It doesn't mean people will answer all the time, but you have access to them and they're pretty responsive. And so I just know how great that's been for me to build my confidence. And just to think that some people are out there and they don't have that, that kind of saddens me. And so this DNP Derm group is a support, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to go home, and you still have your questions, you still have your confidence that needs to be built, you still have curiosities about how to negotiate, how to talk contract, personal and professional interests that may or may not benefit your organization. And so it's just an opportunity to talk those through with people who can relate. And so it's gone a little bit faster than I was expecting, because I wasn't really expecting to do any events till we got to like 100 people, just assuming like if you have 100 people, maybe 20% will be active. But we just had so many people reach out and support us that we're doing what's going on, that we're doing this now. And so we're going to do this event in September, and then Friendsgiving, and that will round us out for the end of the year. And then we'll resume probably in February after the holidays die down. So that's the DMV Derm group. The link is in the description box. The blog, I dropped a new blog today off. Now this is actually his shampoo, but he doesn't know that. Here, come. Good boy, down. Good boy. So this one, which I reflected on last week, is a recap of my experience attending the virtual event with DNPs of Color called Dimensions in Nursing. It was about a 2-hour virtual CE event. Shout out to SMK Medical who offered the CEs. If you're looking to do your own CE events, maybe I'll put his link in the description box. You can reach out to him. He's in DNP school right now, and that's his side hustle is CEs, whichever I've talked about before. And actually, I want to learn about how to do those myself because I noticed some people use what do you call it? They host CME sponsored events, and so I just want to know how that works because I'm just wondering who does the sponsoring, right? Because there might be some conflict of interest. So anyway, that's an area for me to explore because I would love to be able to offer people not only this opportunity to network and have a delicious meal, but to get CEs, especially farm CEs. That is a new thing on my list of want to offer. So that's that. So yeah, on the blog. So yeah, so in this event, we learned about organizations that are partnering with barbershops across the country to offer awareness and resources when it comes to primary care and mental health. So the people who participate, which I think are all men, they get this education, and then and they do some screening. And if they're a candidate or need a referral, then they get referred to professionals in the community. And I think it's wonderful. And so since I've been working with DNPs of Color, I've had the opportunity to hear a lot of doctoral research. People get an opportunity to disseminate their research in podiums, and like for the conference, you can do podium presentations. And I think there's different lengths of time. So podium, poster, and you can even put together a panel, which I need to work on that maybe for next year. I think that would be really good. I just have to decide what topic I would want to bring to that audience. But I just think that would be great. Anyway, so you can do all those things. And so because of that, I've heard a lot of people talk about how they have done their DNP project at barbershops. And I think if I recall, it's mostly like primary care things. So like blood pressure. And I think it's great. And so now that, I know about all these opportunities in derm, I think we can expand on that, partner with barbershops, beauticians, stylists, cosmetologists, and estheticians to do a DNP project, bring awareness and education about a list of different dermatological diseases. You can pick whichever ones you like. I've put together a list of some that significantly impact communities of color in the article. So things like skin cancer, you can even talk about acne, right? So we can avoid scarring. And of course, hair loss is going to be a big one in that list. And so technically, if you're not familiar with the DNP project, you typically just need one site to kind of partner with. And depending on who you partner with, will determine how much access you have to get usually surveys. So let's say you pick one barbershop and they're attached to a beautician, that could be access. Or you could just pick a bunch of different barbershops. And personally, I wouldn't reinvent the wheel. I would reach out to the organizations that presented at the Dimensions in Nursing and see if I could partner with them or if they have connections close to wherever I live so I can do in-person events if I felt like it. Because you could also make it virtual if you're doing education, pre and post testing, surveys, right? And so the idea is that you provide some awareness, and then you come back. You could do it back to back, like right after an education, maybe you talk for an hour. They could redo another, take a survey. and then compare the scores, or it can come back 4 weeks later, 8 weeks later, depending on how much time you have or desire to collect data, and then see how the education has impacted. And you pick a list of metrics that you want to measure. Maybe how many people did you refer for alopecia? How many people did you refer for skin cancer? How many people followed through? What kind of questions do you encounter? So you could technically collect both quantitative and qualitative data from that. But I just think it's awesome because when I went to the Newecki Derbar and I was able to talk to estheticians, they talk about that lack of education, particularly when it comes to skin of color. So that is especially like cosmetology schools. Like if you pick one school, I think I would just call it, that would just be my one setting. If you go to barbers, you might have to pick more than one to get like enough for your sample. Just depends on how big of a sample you need based on your calculation. But yeah, I personally would either pick a cosmetology school. I think I would probably target that one. Because yeah, and then I would pick a topic that I care about, they care about. Probably hair loss would probably be one I would pick. And then you can do your study there. So I have another DNP project idea for you. So first, let's talk about JDNA. So that is the Journal of the Dermatology Nurses Association. It's their official journal. Oh, I can't believe I closed this. And so this is it. It's $50. It's $25 if you're a member. I just double check this too. Let's see. I want to say it's $25 if you're a member, and $50 if you are, $50 if you're a non-member. And membership is annual. They might have other options actually. I think they do have a 2-year one. And so and so this gets mailed to you, and it's pretty thin actually. So it goes to the back in terms of resources, but technically the meat of it ends on page 22, and then there's a glossary of terms and then references, and it looks just like the journal. So this one came out in 2020, and it comes out every 5 years. So I think this is super exciting. So I'm going to do a little reading, and then we'll get into the next DNP project because it was inspired by reading this. So first of all, it's all about what is a dermatology nurse and nurse practitioner. And so it has some history, it has competencies, scopes and standards, and that competencies actually is available online, like an article for free. So that you can access, but for the scopes and standards, you do have to purchase. And so it provides, it defines everything. It talks about educational preparation. It breaks down continuing professional development, certification, evidence-based practice, teaching and mentoring. And then it has the framework. And so there's just like, what's that called? Code of ethics. So then it has all your standards, which includes the competencies. And then it will also have a specific section on additional competencies for nurse practitioners. So the dermatology nurses are registered nurses, graduate level. Oh, you know what they really put out in here? They talk a lot about clinical nurse specialists too, which is interesting because when I was in school over 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, they were saying that was fading out, but I think they're still around. I worked with one, and I see them posting on LinkedIn, bringing awareness to what they can do. So I'm not quite sure how many people are still going back to school for that or not. But so dermatology nurses are registered nurses, graduate level prepared registered nurses, and advanced practice registered nurses, or APRNs, who focus on health promotion, disease and injury prevention, sign and symptom recognition, disease management, and self-care knowledge and adherence to improve patient and population outcomes for those at risk or living with dermatological diseases. That little section right there is what you use to formulate your DNP project. Those could be your metrics right there, and you just decide how you're going to measure that. Dermatology nurses develop their skills through various methods, including, so this is how you answer the question, how do you get into dermatology? How do you become a dermatology nurse practitioner? It can start when you're a nurse. So that's why a lot of times I talk to both of us, because I think for nurses in particular, for NPs in particular, you can start getting that education as a nurse. And in fact, I encourage it, because you're not going to get an NP school. And by not having that, you're not going to really meet the desired criteria to get that job straight out of NP school. So it's better if you start in nursing while you're still a nurse. Dermatology nurses develop their skills through various methods, including continuing education, training, and competencies obtained within dermatology clinics, from conferences, or through in-service workshops. Shout out to Dr. Teresa Talens. She is the Derm NP, surgical Derm NP. And she just had a sale this week too, I want to say. They learn dermatology skills such as assisting in performing skin exams for skin cancer, monitoring dermatology-specific healthcare records, caring for healthcare consumers in pre- and post-operative dermatologic setting, assisting with dermatology procedures, and providing dermatology-specific education. And then it gets into the specifics of graduate level prepared nurses. So graduate level, which I think they're referring to the clinical nurse specialists. And then you have your APRNs. And so your graduate level and APRNs have additional competencies for health promotion, disease and injury prevention, early recognition of signs and symptoms, disease management, self-care knowledge, and adherence to improve patient population outcomes for those at risk or living with dermatologic disease. A dermatology nurse practitioner is defined as an advanced practice registered nurse licensed as a nurse practitioner that specializes in assessment, diagnosis, management, and advocacy of individuals and communities with health and illness of the hair, skin, and nails. And this is that was written by the Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Coalition in 2017. The coalition includes DNA, the Dermatology Nurse Certification Board, and there's one more. I want to say it's three of them. There's three groups that make up the coalition. I might have to put that in the description box. Oh, here we go. Oh, maybe it's just the two of them. For some reason, I thought it was three. I think it is three. It's three groups. It's definitely on the website. Maybe it was in that article on the competencies. I've read it somewhere. So yeah, that's your answer on how to get into dermatology. And I think it's important, specifically because what I just said, just because you get a job, it doesn't mean that's it. Like that's the end of your education and training or your personal initiative. You still have to seek mentorship. You still have to seek network. You still have to seek opportunities for education, not just like your medical foundation, but also your skill set. And I don't know if I would imagine other specialties are just like that, but I don't know how much of that is the same and how much of that is different. And of course, they get into the Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Society. That's what it is. It's the society. Okay. So DNA has an NP society, and then the AANP has one. The American Association of Nurse Practitioners. They have a dermatology nurse practitioner like cohort committee. I don't know what you want to call it. That makes up the coalition. I'm pretty positive they're the third one. Yeah, I think that's it. I'll double check and I'll put it in the description box, what makes up the coalition. But yeah, so by reading this, what I learned, watch when I'm done filming, I'll find it really quickly. Oh, I think I found it. I don't know. I'll have to tell you later. Yeah, I think it was in that one article, and I believe it's on the website too. Like I said. Okay, here we go. Aha. So the coalition is made up of the American Association of Nurse Practitioners, Dermatology Specialty Practice Group. That's the AANP Specialty Practice Group. The Dermatology Nurses Association's Nurse Practitioner Society, so that's DNA, and then the Dermatology Nursing Certification Board. So, NPs, nurses, and our other colleagues in healthcare have questions about our skill set, our competencies, our scope, our standards, and so it's available for purchase as well as publicly online in other capacities. And so by reading, I don't know if it was when I was reading that or reading something on the website, I came across I guess, campaign initiative called Sunaware. And I have the link in the description box. And the bulk of the information that you can find is on the Melanoma Research. Let me make sure I get this right. The Melanoma Research Foundation. So Sunaware is a list of, they bring awareness to schools in particular. And so they have a school curriculum from K through 12 that you can implement into a school. And so this is a second DNP project. And so this time you actually already have what you need to implement. And that's one thing we emphasize in the DNP project is not to reinvent the wheel. Go find things that are evidence-based, that are already proven strategies, and adopt them for the setting in which it's going to be implemented. And so you can go to this website, the link's in the description box. You can click on, they group the grades, like maybe K through 3 or something, on competencies. And so you, as the researcher coming in, your sample would be the faculty, and you would teach them how to adopt this curriculum into their curriculum. And so when I was in DNP school, one of my colleagues, she did something quite similar, which is kind of where I'm bringing the two ideas together. So she partnered with a school, and I want to say she was, I think, if I'm not mixing her up with someone else, I believe she was in Hawaii, and she taught the faculty how to implement mental health first aid. So similar to CPR, they have training programs to teach people how to do mental health first aid. And so you can do two things. You can just get the training to implement these interventions, or you can actually do the training to become a trainer yourself. So she was a trainer, and she went to the school to teach them how to, I don't know if she was teaching them how to be a trainer or not, but it was one school, already made curriculum, and she went there, partnered with them, learned about what they already have going, and found a way to implement that program into their school. So when you do it that way, she didn't need IRB. And then it's sustainable because those teachers are going to be there and they can continue it. Because that's the other thing about your project. After you put in all that work, you want to make sure that you put in things that are sustainable, not just for you and your project, but for the organization that you're partnering with. You're trying to find something that you're trying to solve one problem or help them with something, and you want that to be able to keep going. And so, yeah, that's a great DNP project. And you can pick any grade level that you want, and you'll see the curriculum for that. And yeah, it's just right there available for you. And then if you're on the DNA website, they also have a tab for Sunaware. It's primarily like PDFs that you can download for patient education. And they do have some things there for baby proofing too. So those are my two DNP project ideas for you. And then we talked about SMK Medical, which does CEs. So you could do CEs too. And yeah, I think that's all I have for this week's check-in. So yeah, if you like this content, please thumbs up the video, subscribe, and share it with students and practicing clinicians who might be interested in, particularly in dermatology, at every level, right? Because I mentioned it's important if you want to get in derm as an NP that you really start getting that exposure as a nurse. And then if you're in grad school and you're looking for a project idea, you don't even have to be in DNP to do this. because I know other grad students have to implement projects. And so if you need it to just like be modified to fit your particular degree requirements, and you really want to do something in derm, and I've mentioned something, and you just need to make some adjustments to make it fit for what you need to do or what you can do, yeah, let's chat about it. I would love to support that. I would love to see the outcomes of it, and help you navigate that in whatever way I can. So, oh, I almost forgot the best thing. So this weekend, another reason I didn't come on, I might stick with Mondays as far as going live, is because I worked on my article. I'm so excited. So I finished all. So I told you that I am I'm on the JDNA's committee as an author. It's one of their ways you can volunteer. We always need volunteers at DNA. You're going to hear me talk about them a whole lot soon. I joined last year and I haven't written one article yet. They gave me an idea. I started working on it, and then my life blew up and took off. But after doing that peer review article last week, I was so motivated. And so this weekend I went and did I start last week? I think one day this week I worked on my article literature review. And then this weekend I did the whole thing. So all the databases that I was interested in using, I went through all of them. For like title, keywords, some of them I read, like I would read through a little bit more scanning than others. And so now that I have all of that, I'm using Prisma as my guide. That's what their recommendation is. So on their website, if you're going to be an author or reviewer, they have tons of resources explaining everything, tutorials, guidelines, criteria. And so now all I have to do is go through all the articles that I've collected and actually read through the abstract to see if it meets my inclusion criteria. And then as I'm going through it, which is one thing I learned during my project, is to update my numbers as I'm going. So with Prisma, there's guidelines to follow in terms of how to critique articles. But then there's like a flow diagram. So from the very beginning of your search, you're documenting the results, because in an ideal world, someone should be able to use all your key terms, go to the same database that you did, follow the same steps that you did, and get the same results that you did. And so that's why you're documenting it, recording it. So let's say your search terms are dermatology nurse practitioner, and you go to PubMed, you put that in there and you get 5,000 results, right? So then you would put 5,000 in the first box. But then your next criteria is like the last 10 years. So then that goes down. It's not going to be 5,000 anymore. It might be 2,000. Then you might say in English. Now it might go down to 1,500. So every time you put in a new filter, it gets smaller and smaller. And then especially once you start reading them, you might find duplicates. So then those get thrown out. And then you get all the way down to the bottom on how many you actually read in its entirety, and use that to write your actual paper. So you might have started out with 5,000 in that initial, which could also indicate that you probably need to narrow your search terms a little more, because maybe it's not dermatology nurse practitioner, maybe it's dermatology nurse practitioner education. So of course you might not have 5,000 to start with. But then after that, from the 5,000, let's say you get 50 that meet your criteria, and you read 50 articles. And after you read the 50, you might throw out 25. So then you just have 25 towards the end. So it's good to keep that going from the very beginning, because it's challenging to go back and try to remember, because you have some that you do put your search term in that way, but then you might have some that you find manually or from other databases or references that you decide you want to include, and so you keep track of that too. The ones that you're including that are that didn't necessarily meet that initial criteria. So yeah, that's what I did. I'm so excited about that. I don't know how long it will take me to get through all those articles, but I'm working on it, and just happy to make some dent in that. And so I didn't work on my book this week because I did that. And so now I'm just really trying to find out the balance between working on that and working on the book. But I really want to get the article out because I want to, but also because I signed up and I want to hold up my end of what I agreed to, especially because they're always sending out these articles or emails for volunteers. And I just see how much opportunity there is for contributing to the journal. And so I really want to be able to participate in that. And so, yeah, I'm excited to have made that move. So that's it. 30 minutes. We're going to go. Thank you for your time. Remember to subscribe, share my content. You can always message me in the comments, or you can hit me up through the blog. That's really the best way to do it. So I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you haven't seen my little Band-Aid. I sliced my finger yesterday cleaning the blade in the blender. So yeah, it was a pretty big cut too. I bled for a long time. But that's all I have. If you have questions about anything I brought up, please don't hesitate to ask. I thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. This week is the Black Health Connect conference. It's a big conference. I'll be volunteering on Sunday, so I doubt that I'll go live over the weekend. So I'll probably see you here Monday, next week, Monday. I don't know what time of day, but certainly next Monday. So yeah, if you subscribe and you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when I go live. I need to do a better job of putting up a little thing, like a little announcement. So yeah, hold me to that. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next time.